Daniel 7, and I'm going to go on to Daniel 8. Please subscribe, because what I want to do in Daniel 8 is show you where Antichrist comes from, what country, what region of the world. I want to show you that really quickly in Daniel 8. So now Daniel, in his vision, he's in Iran. He is in Shushan, which is the capital of the Medes and the Persians, the Iranians. At the time of Daniel, the Iranians were not in power, but they were about to be, very close to be, because they did rule the world. They were the fourth head of the seven-headed beast: Egypt, Assyria, Iraq, Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon, the Medes and the Persians, Iran, the Middle East, which is Alexander the Empire, the Roman Empire, and, in my opinion, the United States. Those are the seven heads who rule the world as Babylon. And he said, I saw by the river Ulai, and I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had two horns, and the two horns were high, but one was higher than the other. That means there were two powers in Iran, or there were going to be two powers, and one was more powerful than the other. So I saw the ram pushing westward. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, the angel is about to tell Daniel that the ram is the Medes and the Persians, the Iranians. And let's see what happens. And I saw the ram pushing westward from Iran, so he's kind of going towards Europe, and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will, and he became great. This ram, this Iranian empire, was powerful. And so now let's see what happened. And as I was watching, behold, a he-goat came from the west. And the he-goat is Greece. That's what the angel will tell him in a minute. The he-goat from the west. So this guy's in Iran in the east, and this guy's in the west from Greece. And so he came from the west on the face of the whole earth. He did not touch the ground. That means he was moving. Alexander the Great's army was moving across, and they were taking out everybody. And so his feet did not touch the ground. And the goat, this is Greece, had a notable horn between his eyes. Horns are the powers or the kings that are of these nations. And the notable horn that came out between the eyes of the goat is Alexander the Great, the notable horn of Greece, the notable power. And he came to the ram that had two horns, and here's this one, which I had seen standing before the river, and he ran into him in the fury of his power. So Alexander the Great just came and just devastated the Iranian Empire. And do you know everything I'm reading is a prophecy of Daniel? This had not happened in Daniel's day. I know it's happened now because it happened over 2,000 years ago. But Daniel lived much further in the past, and he was seeing it from his vantage point. He was seeing what was going to happen in the future. He's already seen from his vantage point of like 2,500 years ago. He saw something in our future, the last days, the Great Tribulation. Well, he also saw something in his nearer future, which was the arise of Alexander the Great and his defeat of the Iranian Empire. And he saw that Alexander the Great died when he was still in the height of his power. Let's see what he says. Therefore, the he-goat, Greece, waxed very great. He grew very great. And when he was strong, the great horn, Alexander the Great, was broken. And it came, and instead of it came up four notable horns toward the four winds of heaven. So what came up after Alexander the Great were four notable powers that came up from the four winds of heaven, meaning north, south, east, and west. So we had four great kingdoms that came up, and I'm going to describe those now. The first one is to the north is called the Seleucid Empire, and that was one of the kingdoms that came up as Alexander the Great died, and his generals took over, and they had a little scuffle who's going to do what. And so the first general was Seleucid, and he took over what is known as the northern part, which is now Syria and Iraq, I should say. So that north of what? North of Israel. Okay, so then the one in the south was south of Israel, and that was the Ptolemy. The Ptolemies was Egypt. So the one in the north is the Seleucid Empire, and the one in the south is Egypt. The one in the west or east, they're really not going to figure much into this. But what we have, so out of one of these four horns, he says, came forth a little horn. That's Antichrist. Now, scholars will say this little horn is some king that sort of mimics Antichrist, but I'm going to show you that it is Antichrist. So out of one of them came forth a little horn, which grew very great toward the south and toward the east and toward Israel. So he is Antichrist. And where did he come? He came out of Alexander the Great's empire. He came out of one of these four regions of these four generals, either north of Israel in Syria and Iraq, or south of Israel in Egypt, or even east or west. But no, it's going to be, you'll see he's going to narrow it down for us. The angel's going to narrow it down. So he grew very great, even to the host of heaven, the powers of heaven, and he cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground, and he stamped on them. So in other words, he's very violent and he is powerful. And that is this little horn called Antichrist. He magnified himself even to the prince of the hosts. And by him, the daily sacrifice was taken away. Now, this is Antichrist, okay? This is in the future. We don't know this person yet. Okay, he's just evil. He lies, he practices evil, and he is destructive. And it came to pass when I saw the vision and besought for the meaning, there stood a man before me. He looked like a man, and I heard a man's voice between the banks of the river Ulai. So there's the banks of the river, and in the middle, it's like standing on the water, is a voice. It's a voice, and there looks like a man standing on the water. Where we have seen that before? That's Jesus standing on the water. I think this is Jesus. I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, so he's calling his angel, Gabriel, tell this man and make him understand the vision. So the man who's standing on the water, which I'll call Jesus, is telling Gabriel to tell Daniel what this vision is about. So Gabriel came near to Daniel. So he came near where I was stood, and when he came, I was afraid. Yeah. And I fell on my face. But he said to me, understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be this vision. Well, this is the first clue. This is not the man. The scholars say that the little horn is not Antichrist, but a preview of Antichrist, that it's really Antiochus Epiphanes of Greece. But the angel says it's for the time of the end. Right now, just hold on to the fact that he says this is for the time of the end. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, and he touched me and set me upright. And he said, behold, I will show you what will be the last end of the indignation of this horrible time. I'm going to tell you what it's about. For at the time appointed, this shall be. It's for the time appointed at the end, our time. The ram which you saw having two horns are the kings of Medes and the Persians. They are the Iranians, okay? So the ram is the Iranians. And the rough goat is the king of Greece. So that is Alexander the Great's empire. And the great horn between his eyes is the first king. That's Alexander the Great. So first of all, before I go on, I want to say the ram is Iran and the goat is Greece. But in chapter 7, when we saw the four great beasts come up out of World War II, as I say, the scholars say that those four great beasts, that the bear is Iran, that the leopard is Greece. Well, stop right there. The bear cannot be Iran and the leopard be Greece, because in chapter 8, the angel tells you, not the scholar, the angel tells you that the Iranians are the ram and that Greece is a goat. Greece is not a leopard, Greece is a goat. And so when they say that the four kingdoms in chapter 7 are the repeats of the kingdoms in chapter 2, they're wrong. The angel contradicts them, not me. The angel contradicts them. Iran is a ram and Greece is a goat. So it's not, Greece and Iran are not in chapter 7. Those are the kingdoms that come out of World War II. Okay, back to the story. He says, the goat is the king of Greece, Alexander the Great, and now that being broken, the kingdom is broken into four pieces. The Middle East is broken up into four pieces. Four kingdoms will stand up out of these four pieces, and in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressions are come to the full, which I interpret as the Great Tribulation, our future, when that happens, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences will stand up. Antichrist will stand up out of this kingdom. He will come out of the kingdom that is formed by Alexander the Great's conquering in the Middle East. Antichrist comes out of the Middle East, right here in chapter 8, verse 23. And we're going to see further that it's not east or west, not one of those two, and it's not Egypt. He comes out of the northern one, Seleucid Empire, which is Syria and the area around it. So we're talking about Syria playing a significant part in our future. And yet we saw the overthrow of Assad, the president of Syria, and he fled to Russia, and a new man came in his place. And that's sort of a temporary guy that the world is going to decide whether or not this Syrian leader is going to stay, including President Trump and others. And I believe and I predict that they will actually come in and during their peace process that they're doing, and they're right now working feverishly for a peace between Ukraine and Russia, a peace for Gaza. There's problems in China. They're looking for peace on the earth. Trump is leading this peace thing. And I believe that this will be the great peace treaty spoken of in Daniel 9. But this peace treaty that they're looking for, I predict that they will determine who is the leader of Syria. And that leader of Syria that they determine will be will be Antichrist. So that's just me. We know the Antichrist comes out of this Greek empire that we are seeing in chapter 8, verse 23. So now let's see about Antichrist. And through his policy, he shall cause deceit to prosper and is in his hand, and he shall magnify himself. He loves himself. Oh, he loves himself. Glorify me in his heart. And by peace shall destroy many. He's going to use peace as a weapon to destroy many people. He's going to say, oh, I love peace. But he doesn't. He loves himself. And so, but he's using peace as a weapon, and a lot of people do that. He shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. So this Antichrist that comes out of this kingdom, out of the Syrian region, is going to stand up against the prince of princes. Who's the prince of princes? Jesus. He is going to live at the very last time, and he's going to fight Jesus. And I will say that this man is the angel is telling Daniel about this man that Daniel's vision referred to in Daniel 8, verse 10. So what we have here in Daniel 8, verse 10 is not Antiochus Epiphanes. It is Antichrist. And the vision of the evening and the morning, which was told, is true. Therefore, shut the vision, for it will be for many days. Close up this vision. Don't talk about it anymore. You don't need to think about it anymore, Daniel. This is for way in the future, many days. And it's for us to be thinking about. It's for you to be thinking about. You know, the time is short. You got to decide, are you going to be on the side of Jesus, or are you going to be on the side of Antichrist? Because that's all there is. That's it. There's no like, oh, nothing's going to happen. I'm just going to die, and there's no afterlife. You're going to be sorry. There is an afterlife. There is a God. And this God is not a God that was created by men as an idol. This is the God who created men, and he is the God. He is the Lord of lords and King of kings. So let's see what happens to Daniel. And I, Daniel, fainted. Wow. And was sick many days. Yeah, this made him sick. And afterward I rose up and did the king's business. Remember, Daniel works for the king. And I was astonished at the vision, but no one understood it. So what we have here, what I wanted to do in Daniel 8 is to show you that Antichrist comes out of the Middle East, and he is going to probably be the leader of Syria. Okay, this is the sequence of events. There's going to be a peace treaty. And then the 10 kings, who I call bricks, are going to destroy by fire the United States. It falls. And what happens is Europe is sitting there. Europe's sitting there without an ally, without anybody. And who's leading the world? Antichrist. And they cave. They have no defense. And so they join Antichrist and unite with the Middle East to finalize what Daniel calls the leopard, the European Union and the Middle East. And that's going to happen in our future. So we have the lion with eagle's wings, England and the United States, and we see that the wings are plucked. Something bad happens. And then we see the bear, the 4 feet of the bear, Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea probably. And then we have the leopard, the union of the European Union and the Middle East. And with that said, we see in Daniel 7 and 8 that the world is now set up for the Great Tribulation. Daniel 9 will be so Daniel 7 is about sort of the setup of what happens after the world wars. Daniel 8 is about where Antichrist is from. Daniel 9 is about when Antichrist is going to appear. Daniel 10 is an assuring vision for Daniel. And then Daniel 11 is very detailed about Antichrist and where he's really from. And then Daniel 12 is the last days in the Great Tribulation. So the visions of Daniel from 7 to 12 are really informative for us. They apply to us. And as the scripture says, they're for the last days, Daniel. They're not for you. So I hope you subscribe. I hope you follow me. I definitely have a different perspective than other people, but I don't think it's wrong, obviously. So I'll see you later. Good night.